Now, good morning, and I don't know who needs to hear this, but when women start screaming out that all men are the same, you better believe that they are. Because a man makes sure that his responsibilities and the people that he loves are properly taken care of. A man acknowledges the faults of himself and of others and creates a safe space for them to correct them. With a man, it is necessary for them to demand and require respect while at the same time reciprocating that energy. Now, you have to know the difference between a grown-ass man and a grown-ass boy. So if you're still screaming out that all men are the same, check yourself in the decisions you made. And that goes for the men as well.
I am so tired of men always having some lame ass excuse for ghosting you. Like, last week I hooked up with this guy, even though we both made it clear we were not going to hook up. And you know what? We're both spontaneous people, so we ended up hooking up, and he ended up ghosting me the very next day. Fast forward a week later, I got filled with rage, so I decided to text him. Ghosting me the day after we hooked up is evil work. And this man was like, "Oh, sorry, I was busy all week and weekend." So you were so busy for 7 days that you couldn't text me? So I literally unfollowed him because you're a liar. You're a liar. You could just be honest with me and be like, "I just wanted to catch a nut. I just wanted to fuck you, and I want nothing to do with you, bitch." And I would sleep so much better at night knowing that, instead of being kept up like, "Oh, like, why did this man ghost me? Like, what did I do wrong?" Like, just tell me you wanted to use me, and both of our lives would be so much easier. And then also, men also love to use the excuse of, "Oh, my dog died." Okay, I want to see a picture. Show me the death certificate. Open up that vase. I want to see her ashes. Where's her paw print? Show me the dog collar. Like, you guys, like, stop it.
Never change your mind to please a woman. A man should never betray his own deepest knowledge and intuition to please a woman. No woman can come in my life and change what I got going on, change what I value, change what I require in a relationship. No woman can come in my life and change me. That's a lot of you niggas' problem. You ain't got no backbone. You ain't willing to walk away when your boundaries are crossed. You're not willing to walk away when your standards are tested.
YouTube, what it do? It's your guy CJ back with another video, back with another episode of the CJ Wilkins YouTube channel. Also, the Be a Man podcast affiliate. This is season 10 of the Be a Man podcast. In this episode here, man, I'm gonna go in, bro, because I really think a lot of you ladies, you need to hear this. This ain't even for the fellas. Like, this is for the ladies on behalf of the fellas, right? In 2025, bro, we have far too much information, far too much knowledge, far too much access to empirical statistical data, right? That proves a lot of these low IQ talking points just to be false, right? And I'm gonna just call it out for what it is. There's a plethora of male bashing videos and platforms on social media, right? And I can speak specifically to the black community, but I really kind of see this, you know, in other communities too, but not as much in the black community, right? And you'll see these little platforms, man, that are solely designed on painting all black men or all men in general under the same brushstroke, right? And you know, there are guys who make videos to respond to it, man, but they don't really call out what it really is. So I'm going to take this episode and this opportunity to really educate the sisters. I'm not trying to beat no one down. I'm not trying to shame anybody. I'm not trying to denigrate a population of the female group, you know. But I really got to call it out because it really gets under my skin sometimes when I see content online, you know, just a lot of, like, you know, all men are this, all men are that, right? And I don't operate in a world of absolutes, right? anyone who has watched my content for a while, or, they know me personally, they know that the only two absolutes I believe in life are death and taxes, right? So we're all going to die, right? And we are always going to owe at some capacity, right? There will always be a debt attributed to your existence, right? So anything else outside of that is really, it would be foolish of you to operate under the guise of absolutes as it pertains to a gender, right? I make a lot of content on, advocating for men and, giving guys the game on, dating and relationships and like how to boss up financially and in your career and how to be respected as a man and things like that. But I've never, ever created an episode where I say all women are like this or all women are like that. I normally give, and I shouldn't have to. Sometimes I do give a disclaimer, other times I don't, but sometimes you have to preface, I guess, when you're talking about everyone or you're talking about like who it applies to. But let's get into some of the ad hominems, man, that I have heard. And it's not just online, it's in real life too. Sometimes you'll hear women say this dumb shit and you'll be like, man, what world do you exist in where this is your reality? They'll say all men are dogs, all men are cheaters, all men are abusive, or all men are narcissists. Fellas, when you hear a woman say this or like even speak like that, right? What she's doing is she's projecting one or two things. One, she's projecting the type of man she normally attracts. Or two, she's projecting how she is, right? And she's using something like reverse strategy conundrum into trying to vet the guy that she's really talking to or interested in, right? But what it comes down to, man, is like chicks really know. Women, for the most part, know where the good men are. Women, for the most part, are actually propositioned or actually approached in some way, shape, form, or fashion by good men, right? So when you hear an abundance of women, right, stand on the heel of all men are trash, all men are garbage, right? What they're saying, I really want you to understand what they're saying underneath all the bitch babble and the code speak. I want you to understand that they're saying the guys that they're attracted to are these things, right? Because I promise you, man, the guy who is in her comments or like in her DMs, or the guy at the office who really likes her, right? The good guy, the decent guy, the hardworking guy, the everyday guy. If he's not quote unquote attractive to her, it doesn't matter how good of a man he is. He's not even on her radar, right? So the guys who are on her radar may indeed have these attributes, right? But when you stand on the fact that all men are like this, right, it's very disingenuous for one, but two, it's a half truth, It's a complete half truth. Like, yes, the guys you're attracted to, and I'll say you're in all caps, the guys that you're attracted to, right, can be these, scumbags and these horrible guys and all of this. And really, even when women say that, guys, don't think that these are terms of the woman like actually demeaning those characteristics, right? She may say that to you because she may view you as a nice guy or a simp or a beta male, or you may just be a guy that may not know who she is, so she can kind of like manipulate you into seeing her a certain way. But if a woman has dealt with multiple guys and they all fit the description of they're an asshole or this, or they dirty, or they're a dog, or they're a cheater, understand, man, that's what she's attracted to. Now, is it possible for people to grow and mature and get past that? To some degree, right? But there's something about the the unpredictability of a loose cannon that she's drawn to, right? And whether that's a good thing or bad thing, I'm not here to judge that, but I want women to be more honest and be more genuine about some of the issues that they speak about on these platforms, about dating, about relationships, man. Just be honest about it, man. I think people in today's time, you know, even though as a society, people don't always show it, but people are more intelligent than what you would be led to believe in today's time, you know. People have far more access to information and knowledge and stats and analytical data than we've ever really had, you know. And you see a lot of these videos, a lot of this content painting all guys under the same stroke. And if you know, you know, right? Like if you're a man, right, and you've dealt with more than, I'll say five women, let's keep it on the low end. If you dealt with about 5 or 10 women, right, one thing that you do know, right, women may have a lot of similarities, right, but women aren't all the same. Like there's different types of women. There's women who are more submissive. There's women who are more feminine. There's women who are more masculine. Well, a pseudo-masculine, right? It's not possible for a woman to be all the way masculine, you know. But there's women who are easy to deal with. There are women who are difficult to deal with. There are women who shows respect for herself and has high character. There's women who have low character and they're for sale and there's a price tag on them and they're available to the highest bidder. There are women who are loyal, very faithful, man, like down for their guy. There are women who belong to the boulevard, bro. Women are not all the same. And you never really see men who are actually experienced with women. I'll say that too. If you ever see a man on the internet talking about all women are like that or all women are the same, there are some characteristics of female nature that makes women more monolithic, I would say. But in general, women are different, right? So if you see a guy who is online talking about they all are the same or all like that, you may be seeing or listening to a guy who may not be as experienced with women as he would probably like to believe or even lead on. So you can't really take that at face value. But the same has to go on the female side. And nobody ever calls it out. Guys that go at some of the claims about, men of this, men of that. But what you have to know as a man, when women speak, right, because women are like emotional beings, few women actually speak from the heart, or they speak from like a place of honesty when they're talking about their struggles when it pertains to, like, you know, dealing with men or like relationships, or like, you know, unless they're in just a healthy, happy, stable marriage or relationship, right? A woman who has had a very spotty past with men, right? She's never going to speak honestly about her past dealings with men. She's never going to really speak from a place of honesty. It's always going to be something that's diluted, something that kind of comes at like it's a narrative, you know? And the narrative is normally, you know what I'm saying, everything that the guy did that was wrong or inaccurate, you know what I'm saying? That's what it's going to be most times, you know? And the thing about that is it completely dissolves them of all accountability, right? It takes away all responsibility of the part they played in a scenario. Like, fellas, when you meet a girl or like you go out on a date with her and y'all like get to the part of the date or the conversation where y'all talk about your last relationships and stuff, how many times, right? Put a 1 in the comment. Put a 1 in the comment if you ever asked a woman what happened in her last relationship and she said it was something that she did. Put a 1 in the comment. Because in most cases, in most instances, right? In most instances, she's going to tell you something that he did, something that the guy did, you know? It's his fault. He said this, he did that. And, you know, in some way, shape, form, or fashion, they're going to be made out to be the victim in this, you know? They're going to be made out to be like, you know, they were done wrong and, you know, they had nothing to do with what happened. You know what I'm saying? He said this, he did that, or he was to this, or he was to that. So, like, they played no role in anything negative in the relationship or in the marriage or in the situation, you know? And this isn't a thing to where, like, it's something. This is most women. So this is the part where the guys who come online and they say all women are like this. You can most certainly be rest assured that that's one example where I will say that is correct. If you go out with 10 women and you ask them what went wrong in their relationship or their marriage, they're going to all blame the man or the person that they were with. Even if they were with a woman, right? They're going to place blame on the other person. Very rarely, if ever, will you hear a woman say, man, you know, I was unrealistic. I was overly entitled. I was too self-focused. I wasn't a good listener. I wasn't a real support. I wasn't a real help me to my man. I wasn't, you know, I let myself go physically. I attracted him with a nice body, and then I decided to gain a lot of weight, and I fell off, or whatever it is, you know. I didn't respect him as a man, or you will never hear that. You will never hear women just voluntarily come out and tell you, hey, I really wasn't who I needed to be. I wasn't the best version of myself to a man who deserved the best version of me. You'll never hear most women say that. Now, if you do hear like a woman just voluntarily come out and say that, one, you need to check for an Adam's apple. And I'm dead ass serious. You need to check for an Adam's apple. But you may get that, you know, maybe 5 out of every 100 women you speak to, right? But in general, you're not going to get that. And the reason why you're not going to get that is because women in general operate from a place of how they feel, right? And when you operate from a place of how you feel versus what's real, you get to create whatever fairy tale, whatever imaginary coat that you want to in order to feel better about the situation, right? Whether it went that way or it didn't, it's null and void. It doesn't matter. You could have been the problem. He could have been the problem. That's not the point of me saying this. The point of it is there is a lack of self-accountability, and there's a very low level of overall self-awareness that you will see and witness in most women. And this has nothing to do with their race, their age, their socioeconomic standing, their education level. Most chicks, man, they have this distorted view of the role that they played or didn't play, right? And it's something to where, as a man, and you deal with women or you dealt with a lot of women, you kind of get used to it. You know, you kind of get numb to the fact that you can't really speak honestly or from the heart with a far majority of modern women. Corey Holcomb did he has a show on like YouTube that comes out every Tuesday, and like he did a rant about how great would it actually be if you could just speak honestly and from a place of just facts and logic with your woman, you know, without having to like sugarcoat it or make it sweet or like dumb it down so it tastes better, you know. But that's not even women's fault. That's not to shit on women or anything. Like that's just how women are wired. Like women are like wired to feel and to be, you know, like emotional and stuff like that. So you do have to like sugarcoat a lot of things. You do have to kind of, for lack of a better word, like dumb a lot of things down so it can be more palatable for them to receive, you know. And that's just how you gotta operate with a man. But not getting too far off the subject, bro. Like, women have to, if you're going to continue to use copes and, like, you know, these idioms of, like, you know, why it's hard for a woman to date, or why it's hard for women to find good men, or they'll say things like, you know, the dating pool got, like, you know, poison in it. If you're gonna use those type of rhetorics, come with actual, like, examples and real statistical data and real evidence of things being the way that you're trying to portray them as, because we don't believe y'all, bro. Like, these little fairy tales is like they be coming up with online, bro, like all men are like that. That's, you know, that's not true. And there's examples that we have of what I'm saying to be true. There's shows like Pop the Balloon, where you see women popping the balloons of potentially good men because of his height. He's not tall enough. Or popping the balloons on things that he possibly can change. Like, I done seen, like, girls on the show pop a guy's balloon because of his haircut, as if he can't get a different haircut. Popping someone's balloon because of the clothes they're wearing or the shoes they have on, as if that man can't just go to the store and buy a new pair of shoes or a new outfit, you know? And it's just like, you have data and evidence of men all being bad. That just simply isn't true. That's not remotely close to what the reality is. The reality is a lot of women are shallow, right? And there's nothing wrong with, you know, liking a person from a physical standpoint, being attracted to them in that way. But a lot of women are shallow, right? And they're shallow to the point to where they will forego a potentially great man, a potentially great husband, for a guy who fits their physical standards. But then they complain when that guy who meets their physical standards or their lust factor, right? They complain about that guy when he don't have the other intangibles they look for. So in all actuality, women tend to go, and guys do the same thing, like on this level. A lot of guys go for the girl they like versus the girl they need. And women do the same thing, but it's more concentrated with women because there's far more women available and single men than it is the other way around. It's way more women available for guys. So guys have a larger picking size than women do. Like when you look at guys who are in the prison industrial complex, guys who are part of the LGBT community, guys who are already married and faithful, it's not a lot of guys who are available for these women who have these crazy standards, these insanely high requirements for what they want in a man, right? But these guys are available. The guys that they want are available, but the guys that they need are available as well. And this is the main point. And I'm going to wrap it up after this. The guy who they need isn't the guy who they want. And that's the problem. That's how you always see this conundrum of women just, you'll see these little stupid ass podcasts and these dumb ass panels, man, where it's just 5 chickens and hens just clucking nonsense for 90 minutes, 50 minutes. All men of this, all men of that. Listen, the man that they want, they simply don't qualify for. They don't. That's another component of it that no one, well, some people speak on it, but, you know, I always say, like my grandfather used to tell me, water always seeps to its own level. So if water seeps to its own level, the type of man a woman normally deals with, that's normally where she's at. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're a great woman, a righteous woman, even if you don't come across men who are your 10 out of 10, like, ideal mate, you're going to come across some high quality men, you know. Some of them may be tall, dark, and handsome. Some of them may be short, fugly, and, you know, overweight. But a great man is a great man, right? A good man is a good man. A good father is a good father. A great husband is a great husband. There's nowhere in the rule book where it says a man has to look like Idris Elba or Denzel Washington in order to be a good husband or a good father, right? Yeah, you want to be physically attracted somewhat to what you're looking for, right? But you have to also take into account, you cannot say as a woman, and if you're still watching this, I really want you to get this part. You can't say as a woman, there are no good men. What you have to say, you have to finish the sentence, because there are no good men is an incomplete statement. It's an incomplete sentence. What you need to say is there are no good men that I'm attracted to. There are no good men that I like. There are no good men that I get a lustful desire from when I look at them. Say that. Don't say there are no good men. There are good men everywhere. There are good men who live in your apartment building. There are good men who are single at your job. There are good men left on red in your DMs right now. There are good men who see you at the grocery store or at the market. There are good men who see you at the gas station and say good morning to you. It's good men at the place where you go to get your coffee. It's good men at your church. It's good men in your book club. It's good men that go to your gym. It's good men who do ride share services. There's good men all around you. But if they don't fit the criteria physically or financially even of what you want, you cut those guys out. You know, he may be cute enough for you, but he not driving a G-Wagon or like he don't have on a $40,000 watch or something. So you'll X him out. Or he can be an incredible dude, but he's 5'9". So because he's a short king, you like, well, you know, you just not my type. But then that same woman will go online crying to the moon saying, oh God, why are there no good men? There are good men everywhere. Just be honest and say that. If y'all were honest and said that, I wouldn't have a problem with a lot of these anti-black men or anti-men in general platforms that a lot of you women kind of stand on the run with. Just be real with it all the way. You know, because it's the easiest thing for a man, and especially guys like me, it's the easiest thing to say, man, I've met some great women in my life, but something about them just didn't work. It didn't fit the vision of what I saw for my future. And that's okay. We can stand on it. I would never tell you with a straight face, all the relationships I've been in, oh, all the women were bad. No, man. It's a lot of things I've done to where I played a role in it not working out or things like that. But just take ownership, man. Take accountability and be honest. That's all I ask for you, man. Let me know what y'all think about this episode in the comments. I can go on and on about this, but I'm going to try to wrap it up and keep it under 30 minutes. As always, it's your guy CJ. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. And as always, I'm out. Peace.